more calories when I'm working out. So I'm a little bit concerned because like I'm just like, what is reasonable? And I love going on instinct, because like when I sit down to eat, it's like I'm devouring it, almost as fast as I can, or I have no interest. So I love that part is fantastic, but I'm just like, I'm a little nervous about like how much I'm going to be eating when I do start working out again. I don't know if you have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, however much you eat, it's going to be what your body wants, right? And so you'll probably increase your appetite a bit, but you're still going to preferentially use, your excess fat tissue, and so your body's going to use that first. I mean, there were days when I was trimming down that like I didn't even want to eat at all. And,
Okay.
And I did like a crazy workouts, it was like 3-4 hours of lifting, 2-3 hours of, rugby, just dead sprints the whole time. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I've worked out for 6 hours. I'm going to be working out for 6 hours tomorrow. Like I have to eat because like, I'll need that energy. Not, obviously, not recognizing the fact that I had weeks, maybe months of energy already in my body. And
Okay.
no, I didn't need to eat. And
Okay.
and like everything says, just like, don't eat a steak. The steak sounds awful. And I was just like, oh, but I have to. And I tried like forcing myself. I'm like, I'm just not enjoying this. And that's when I first really started figuring out that like, taste was a really good marker of that. And things are going to taste better or worse depending on how hungry you are. And so you may find that your appetite increases a little bit, but
Okay.
if it does, it's okay. Yeah, your body wants that.
It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And when I trimmed down until my stable, body composition, my appetite doubled, and because now I wasn't using my stored body fat, I needed to get all my daily energy from my food. And so it was actually a lot. So I was like doubling what I was eating. And so, that just shows you how much energy your body's going to be using of your own,
Okay.
stores. And then now when I work out, yeah, my body wants to use, wants to bring in energy for that. So my appetite will double, and so,
Freezer.
but at the same time, when you're before you get to that state, you probably, you may or may not see a difference in it. But if you do, it's okay.
Yeah.
That's what your body wants. So that's okay.
Yeah. I feel like I'm getting like still going back and forth with like how much I eat. Like I'll lean out and it'll drop in like a week and a half. And then I feel like for a few weeks I'll start bulking up. So I'm pretty sure the composition is changing, which is great. But I think through all this just strictly carnivore thing, I haven't seen, I mean, I did keto for such a long time and then mostly carnivore for a while. But it wasn't until I did all like no plants did I have tremendous benefits. Like I used to be one of those people that was always cold. I had cold hands, cold feet, 100% of the time. It could be summer outside, like it is now. But now I run hot. Like now I just like radiate heat from like my upper chest and neck. And that right there, that's totally worth it to me. Like right there, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm not cold anymore. Like it was amazing. And so I'm just like, this is exactly what my body needs. And this is, I thrive on it. I can't believe I'm not on any caffeine. I can't believe that I have the energy that I have. So this is just, thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
It's
no
amazing.
problem. Well, look, you're doing the hard work, and so, you're doing great. And that's, I think it just makes such a massive difference, just getting rid of that last little bit of stuff. And so it's great that you've seen that for yourself and are getting the benefits of it. So that's great. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, Tom, you had your hand up next.
Sure. Let me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my question is back to last week. I think you were talking about blood glucose and levels that they
Mhm.
should be at. And I've been carnivore about 2.5, almost 3 years now. I don't test my blood glucose all the time, but I do test it occasionally. And I just wonder, I understand the dawn effect, but my blood glucose always runs like between 100 and 110 in the mornings. The only time I ever seem to get it under 100, maybe down in the 80s, is if I fast for more than 24 hours. And is blood glucose, the dawn effect, or the blood glucose in the morning, a concern that it's that high, or
Not
is it?
necessarily. I mean, you weren't coming from a background of diabetes or anything like that.
No,
No.
no.
Um, no, like, in the morning, you're gonna secrete our highest amount of cortisol. Cortisol will raise your blood sugar, you know. Um, and is what we give people steroids that mimic cortisol in the hospital, just screws with their blood sugars. Their blood sugars just slam up. So that's a normal response. That's just part of your, just the daily fluctuations in your hormones and your blood sugar as a result of that. Um, I mean, have you checked your HbA1c or anything like that?
No,
I
no,
mean,
I
you
haven't.
could. I mean, you don't need
I
to.
don't really, I really don't go to doctors. I'm
Yeah.
not, you don't want to hear that, but
Yeah, I know. I like hearing that. I don't think, I would rather people didn't have to go to doctors.
yeah,
Doctors
I
should
mean, I
be a
don't,
stopgap. They shouldn't just be, like something is just everyone's just reliant on them just so they just don't fall apart and die. But that's what it is now, because everyone is just falling apart and dying. And so, no, I really like hearing when people don't go to
yeah, I mean,
doctors.
I don't have any issues that I deal with. I mean, I feel healthy and fine, and I just test the blood glucose every so often, and that's pretty
Mhm.
much it. I don't know if there's a better time of day to test it.
As long as you're
Um,
consistent, I mean, because the thing is that if you're just testing at the same time every day, at least you know what you're tracking, right? And so you can check when things are sort of going off, and if something's affecting you in a different way. You can try it, before you eat, sort of after you eat, a couple hours after you eat, and you'll see minor variations, especially in the time of day. But I think at the end of the day, your body's doing what it's supposed to do, if you're eating pure, right? And so you're not getting any carbs, any artificial sweeteners,
yeah,
anything like that. Then your body is just going to work. Most people have a bit of insulin resistance and a bit of pre-diabetes, even if they're not diabetic, just because of all the high octane crap that we've been eating our whole lives. But you haven't been eating that stuff in a few years now, and so a lot of that damage is going to be undone. If you were curious, you could get an HbA1c. That's really the only thing that's really going to make any sort of, it's the only thing that's really going to matter. All these tests are just a snapshot in time. So you take your blood sugar, that's a snapshot of like that moment in time, but that's not necessarily indicative of what else is going on. So an HbA1c is a 3-month snapshot. So it's better. It gives a better piece of information. It sort of gives you an idea of what your blood sugar control has been for 3 months. But you're not, if you're eating just carnivore, it's going to be fine. So
but
even if you came from a background of diabetes, some
yes,
people.
I mean, I was keto maybe a year and a half prior to that, and I
Mhm.
just did a Sean Baker 1 month challenge, and I haven't turned back. So
Good. Yeah. Well, that's the idea. That's the idea of these challenges, is that it just sets up a pattern of behavior that you can then follow for the rest of your life, because it's not a crash diet. It is optimal living. And
mhm.
getting that mentality of like, this is just the optimal way to live. And I feel really good like this. I want to keep living like this. That's the idea, is to try to give people support so that they can achieve that, and they can get that basis so that they can just carry this forward, and just keep going forever.
So the test is an HbA1c.
Yeah. HB, so for hemoglobin,
Okay,
A1C.
okay.
Yeah.
My last question is, does Adidas sponsor you? Because that seems to be the only hat you ever wear.
Yeah, I wish. We'll have to see. This is literally the only hat I've ever found that I actually like the look of every other hat just looks weird on my head. Like my head's like too big. It's not like my dad's head. My dad can't even wear hats. Like, if you look at like little straps on the back, he'll like be like the very last snap, and it will like barely fit on his head. It's like all like stretched out like that. It's like it looks funny. And so,
I'm the opposite. My head's too small to wear hats.
I was, yeah. And,
My pinhead.
yeah. Yeah. So I wear hats and they just look stupid. I hate them. And then my buddy that I grew up with, one of my best friends growing up, I was visiting him down in Phoenix, and he had a hat like this. And I was like, oh, that was really cool. Sort of dry fit material. He's in Phoenix, so your hot is very breathable and all that. And I was just like, oh, okay, and I just got it, and it actually looked decent on me. So, when I've been, I'm just coming off night shifts at the hospital. So, I was at the hospital all night, and, wearing a stupid scrub cap. My hair's all screwed up, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna put on a hat. I'm not going to bother. So yeah, when I have the opportunity to do, make my hair look presentable, then I'll do that. And otherwise I just stick on a hat because I just don't care. And especially when you have like hat hair, scrub hat hair is worse than normal hat hair. And so it's just like, no, I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, I should talk to them about getting sponsored. That would be awesome. But yeah,
I'm done.
Okay. All right, Yoga, Thanks. You had your hand up.
Yeah, I mainly wanted to provide an update because from the beginning of the year, I started transitioning more into increasing my meat intake, but I didn't really start going towards carnivore until I moved into the house I'm in now, which would have been about 3 months ago, or almost 4 months ago, actually. Mm-hmm. And so I took this challenge to kind of stamp out all the stuff that I was still eating or drinking while supposed to be on the carnivore diet, like coffee, and I was still putting spices in my food and that sort of thing. So if anything, it's been good to change my behavior that way. And I ran into a few sort of minor issues, I think, because like there was a stage where I was going to the gym and like what I would normally lift, I was suddenly struggling and that sort of thing. And I think that came down to me not eating enough the previous night because I work out fasted in the mornings. But yeah, I think over the course of this year, I've dropped 26 kilos.
Right.
And it's kind of, in the last couple of weeks, it's kind of stuck around the 80 mark because I'm 5'6", so but it's stuck around the 80 mark. But I think that's more because I'm building muscle mass, because I'm so like in the last few weeks in particular, I'm more able to push myself harder at the gym, and instead of doing a set amount of reps per exercise, I'm pushing myself to failure, which is actually something I picked up from one of your past videos. So I thought, oh, I'm going to try this. And and so I think that's probably more of the reason why, because, I've been pretty strict this last 26 days or whatever it was. So, I cut out the coffee, which I thought I would react more to the cutting out of the coffee than I thought. But compared to some of the people at my workplace, I was drinking 1 or 2 cups a day with some people at my workplace, because we're all shift workers. So they'd be drinking 5, 6, they'd have the pot next to them. And I'm like, okay, I don't drink that much coffee, so I don't feel as bad now.
Yeah.
But it's been a good experience for me.
Good. And that's really good about the working out as well. I think that makes the biggest difference is working to failure. And I mean, that's even independent of that. I've always said that. And that was something that, Dr. Jaquish was saying as well. When you go to failure, it makes a big difference. And that was why, he was saying, like, with this X3 bar thing, that was something you really go to failure, and then doing those half reps and the quarter reps and things like that until you just exhausted everything. And that he found that was beneficial, and the studies show that that's beneficial. I just noticed that just in my own training that made the difference. That, if I did 10, and it was struggling with 10. It was just like, oh, okay, fine. But if I just really went and I did 12, and failed and hit that failure point and maybe had someone spot me and do 14, that's when I really got very, very, very good results. Whereas otherwise you're just sort of maintaining. You have to challenge yourself. There's no growth in a comfort zone. So, if you're always challenging and straining, or you're just remaining constant and you're not going to grow. So yeah, so that's great that you've been doing that. And yeah, that's why I tend to try to have people avoid checking the scale all the time, because it's you're going to replace fat with muscle. And so you're looking like, oh, I'm not really losing weight, but like your body's just transforming, so it doesn't really matter what the scale says. What matters is your health, how you feel, and and eventually how you look, which is I still think is a secondary outcome. The main thing is being healthy, feeling good. That's the main thing. And the aesthetics and weight loss is a nice bonus, but the main thing is being healthy and feeling good.
Yeah, I agree.
Good. All right. Does anyone else have updates they want to share? How they're doing? Sandra, you want to share anything?
Well, I said the other day that my blood pressure was better, but in the last 2 days, it's been like 143 over 84, something like that. So it's I get a red because I have one of these blood pressure cuffs. It's either green, yellow, or red, right? And I did test it. And when I went to my doctor, can you hear me?
Yeah, you can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When I went to my doctor, they tested my blood pressure, and then I used my little thing to test it so we could see if it was accurate. And it was. So now I'm trying to figure out, what did I do? I don't think I did anything other than work is a little more stressful. But would that make that big of a difference? I don't know.
Well, it can. And, it can also be, this thing called white coat syndrome, where, if you're thinking about it, and, yeah. So white coat syndrome is where, the doctor comes in a white coat and you're like, oh, he's going to check my blood pressure. And you're like, oh, I hope it's low. And oh my God. And your blood pressure just spikes. And they find that like 5 minutes later, after the dude leaves, you check your blood pressure again, and it's 40 points down. So you can certainly jump up your blood pressure just by being a bit worried about things and thinking about them, and you get down this spiral where your blood pressure is a little off. So every time you check your blood pressure, you're just a little anxious, and which is going to keep your blood pressure a little up and all that sort of stuff. So you just when you're taking your blood pressure, sit down, like take your blood pressure, but take your time with it. Sit down, take a breath, calm down, do a couple deep breathing, and wait 5 minutes, and then check your blood pressure. On average, people will find that their blood pressures are significantly lower when they do things like that. So you can try that. If you're avoiding all plants and carbs and sugar and artificial sweeteners and coffee and things like that, your body's going to do a lot better than it would otherwise. There are multiple reasons for high blood pressure and chronically high blood pressure, and there's some that that need to be sort of ruled out. Generally, once people have high blood pressure, especially like very high blood pressure, there are certain things that they just need to be checked on. So I don't know if your doctor has checked those things with you, but if it's none of those things, then quite a lot of the time it comes from like insulin resistance in the arterioles or arteries and arterioles, and so that just takes time. It just takes time to sort of settle down, and you may need to be on a bit of blood pressure medication in the meantime until that settles, but eventually it should settle. And how long have you been doing carnivore now, strictly?
Well, I started July 11th, but I was eating animal products. Like I did have some cheese, and I did have some I was still drinking decaf coffee, and I was putting half and half in it. That was really about the only dairy, I guess. And I was eating other kinds of meat. And so when I started this, I started doing just the beef and the water and the salt. But another thing that happened, so I was on 40 milligrams of propanolol, and she bumped me down to 20 when I went to my appointment. So then I was like, well, does it have anything to do with maybe the fact that I bumped down?
Maybe.
I don't know.
But, but the thing is that, bumping down is a very good sign, because it means that your body's repairing, and that is what we tend to see. This is definitely what we like to see. And, so that's going in the right direction. Yeah. Maybe you would have been, more optimized with a dose of 30, but, they really come in, certain doses. And so it could be, there's going to be a bit of an adjustment period. And, but I would expect you to keep going in that trend,
Yeah.
140. Yeah. You don't want to stay there your whole life, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not all that bad, compared to a lot of people that are like, in the 160s, 170s, 180s, over 200 chronically. These people are really straining their heart, and they are, really at risk of rupturing and hemorrhaging. When they do this but I'm talking years. People will be on these things for years on end. So I wouldn't be too hard on yourself for, getting something at 140. Yes, it's not optimal, and we want to get to optimal, but your body's still healing. You still got a ways to go. Your blood pressure will fluctuate. When you're working out, you're doing this, you're straining, blood pressure is going to go up. And so your body's adapted and able to deal with transient rises and lowerings in blood pressure. And that's okay. So I would take that. I would take time with it. I would take, 5 minutes, deep breathing, calm everything down, and then check your blood pressure. And you can check it a couple times a day, check it consistently, sort of in the same scenario, same, right in the morning, right when you wake up, sort of halfway through the day, and, at a specific time in a specific set of circumstances. And then, at night before you go to bed, and you can just track these things. And, and just, again, just calm breathing, spend 5 minutes just sitting there next to the thing, getting used to it, not being scared of it. It's your friend. It's not your enemy. It's going to be okay. And then you'll be able to see it more accurately, because it's very common for people to get a bit anxious when they're about to take their blood pressure, especially if they're having blood pressure issues. And that will raise your blood pressure. So, yeah.
So I was wondering too, she said that my A1C was 5.2 for the last
Good.
3 months. Does that mean I don't have insulin resistance?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, no, it means that your blood sugar control has been good, but that doesn't actually mean that that's separate from insulin resistance.
Oh, how do I know if I'm insulin resistant then?
There are many different ways. One way, is good, is looking at your HbA1c, but, it's a little different in a carnivore setting, because, you're not taking in exogenous carbohydrates. And so, you're not going to be having these big spikes in blood sugars. But it's, it's a good sign that you're going in the right direction. It's not definitive proof that you're not insulin resistant, though.
Okay.
Just having blood pressure, be a little high is suggestive of that, though. And it's not to say that you're not hyperinsulinemic either, because that's the thing. Your blood sugar, you're going to make a certain amount of blood sugar just based on need. And so that'll be a certain level. It's going to be a lot lower than it would be if you're eating carbohydrates. And it could be that your insulin is enough and that keeps it all regulated. Or it could be that you're a bit insulin resistant, and so your body needs to jack up your insulin levels and your insulin production in order to maintain the blood sugar that your body wants. Okay. And so that could be where you're at right now. A way of getting more information on that is checking your insulin levels, and so you look at your insulin levels, your blood sugar control, your HbA1c is good, and then you check your insulin levels. Oh, actually, you have slightly high insulin levels. Well, that would suggest that you're a bit resistant and your body's making a bit more. And that's why type 2 diabetics can eventually burn out their pancreas or the insulin making portions of their pancreas, the beta islet cells, because they just overwork them, because you're chronically high blood sugar and you're making you're making insulin, but it's not getting the same effect as your body makes more insulin to get that same effect, and it's getting less and less effect, and you're raising. And just like any drug, you're getting resistance and you're getting tolerances, and you have to increase the dose to get the same effect, and then eventually you will never get the same effect. So it takes time. You can check your insulin. That might be a good way too, but really it's sort of academic, because whatever it is, you're in the state that you're in, and your blood pressure is going to be what it is, and your body's going to work the way it is, and it's still going to be optimal, eating carnivore and not eating carbohydrates. And so just let your body do its thing. It's going to stabilize at a certain place. It might be that place, like for some diabetics, insulin resistant or insulin dependent type 2 diabetics, quite a lot of them stop needing insulin. Some of them don't, though. Some of them need to keep taking their insulin, but not that much. They'll take a very small dose, and that'll be just as much as they need, because they're making insulin, but they're not making it as much because they really sort of harm themselves. And so maybe they just need a little bit of a boost. So either way, it is what it is, and your body's healing, and it's going to heal to a certain extent. And that can take months, that can take years. The insulin resistance side of things probably won't take years, but it'll certainly take months. And so, and in the grand scheme of things, it took you however many decades to get to this state of health. A few months is not that long, even a few years is not that long, and especially that's the thing too. Obviously we like instant gratification, but a lot of people say this, like, oh, you may only be able to lose a couple pounds a month, and that's how you have to look at it. You want to lose 10 pounds, this is going to be 5-month process and all these sorts of things of hard work and dieting. I was like, that sounds miserable. And and we're losing 10, 20 pounds in our first 2 weeks. And people are just like, oh, but it's been a month and I'm not, competing in a bikini contest. It's like, all right, well, maybe a little fast. We're getting huge results. And so sometimes we think because we're getting such big results, we want even bigger results. But it's it's quite amazing that we're even getting these results at all, and we're able to reverse blood pressure issues and diabetes issues and autoimmune issues. So just be patient with it. You're doing great. Your body is obviously healing, and your HbA1c is fantastic. I think that's you're right in the perfect range, and and you're coming off your meds, which is all signs that you're doing great. So just keep going with it and just let it happen. It takes as long as it takes. But it's happening, so it's good.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Very much.
You're very welcome. All right. Mary, did you want to give us an update?
Sure. Well, I'm sticking to it. I mean, that's not an issue.
Good.
So the 30 days has been fine. I've just pretty much been doing the meat. Mostly I started off with bison, and I do quite a bit of lamb. I don't do a whole lot of beef because I just seem to react to it more. But I've done a little bit of pork and a little bit of turkey in there. I've just been so kind of like, I guess, a little frustrated and surprised that I can't do the as much fat as I want to right now. When I started Carnivore April of last year, and for 9 months I really did a lot of high fat, and that's what kept my cravings down and worked really well for me. And then last January, February, I didn't do as much fat, and I was adding in eggs and fish and dairy, and a little bit of plant stuff, not a lot, but a little bit. But I had to go back, but the cravings came back. And that's one of the reasons I signed up for the challenge, was because I wanted to go back to just meat and water and salt and fat, and just see how I did. So I've kind of been surprised that I haven't done as well with the fat as I wanted to, considering that how long I've been doing this and where I started. And but I'm hanging in there. I really want to do this. I really wanted it to work. So I'm just trying different things, different combinations of fat and meat to see. But I always seem to have minor issues, and the symptoms seem to come and go. I mean, I might have a little headache. I might have the shortness of breath. I might get hives. I might get itching. I get
and that's with fat. So you're getting sort of itching and hives with just increased fat. Is that what you're saying?
Well, when I started the challenge, I was doing the bison and a little bit of beef. And probably for the first week or two, I had itching and hives. And I still get some itching, like my back, I'll eat and then my back will start itching, but it won't necessarily last. It goes away. Or I might get a little hive and it goes away. And so things seem to come and go. I seem to do worse in the morning. I'm not sure why, but in terms of reactions, or I might get fatigue. I'll eat and then my energy drops. And so I don't know if it's just, I'm going to keep at it. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going back to plants. I really dislike plants.
Me too.
As a food source. They look pretty and
they do. Yeah.
But as a food source, I really have no desire to go back to them. So I only have to go forward. And I think that, so I'll just keep trying, keep working at it.
Yeah, that's interesting that you get that sort of reaction. I mean, I don't know why it would be fat that would be giving you that sort of reaction. I mean, there's obviously something in the food, well, or in your environment in general, but if it's timing with every time you eat, you get itchy and you get a bit of a rash. I mean, that is certainly suggestive that there's something in the food that you're eating that's giving you a bit of a reaction. And, so you can sort of play with that and make sure that is happening consistently every time, because it could be something else in your environment as well that's kicking things off. If it is something that's just your food, trying different foods and seeing what works and what doesn't, see if sort of grass-fed finished animals, work better, potentially reducing your histamine reaction that way. It is interesting that you're saying that, more fat gives you these reactions. Normally people just if they eat more fat than their body can handle, they just get, loose stools, and then you just pull back on that. And but if your reactions are more in the regard to like some sort of allergy or something like that. And well, then there's probably something in there, and the composition of the fat is going to be a bit different in grain finished versus grass finished, and so you might just be a bit sensitive to that. And have you noticed that? Have you tried like sort of grass fed and finished fats, and has that made any sort of difference, or are they both the same?
Well, I was doing the ghee for quite a while, and I had started just before the challenge started. I switched over to the ghee because I thought it would be easier to digest. And now that is Organic Valley, and it's not. I don't know that it's 100% grass-fed, grass-finished cows, but the tallow that I'm getting, that should be completely grass-fed, grass-finished from the butcher. And yeah, I'm not sure if it's the fat or if it's the meat or a combination, eating them together. Or if I don't know, if I just have a weak digestive system. I don't
Well,
know.
no, I mean, if you're getting a rash and you're getting itchy, like you're reacting to something, you're getting a histamine reaction to something.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of identifying, what that is, and eliminating it. Ghee, it's a milk fat, and and this was just clarified butter. Most dairy cows just eat grass. They don't do the grain feeds because they don't need to. You're not trying to fatten them up. You just want them to just eat grass and make milk. And so they're quite often just grass fed, but not always. Sometimes they're given feed, especially like in sort of drier months, or winter, if it's like freezing cold, they might be given feed. But either way, you certainly can find it. And when did you start getting the rashy sort of reactions?
I've had them, the hive stuff. I've had them for quite a while. Even when I was eating some plants, I was having them. Now it has gotten much better. It was only the first week or two when I started the challenge that it was really bad. But now it's settled down and it's better.
Okay.
I was also thinking of maybe trying fish, just to see how I react to that, if it's any different or not. So I'll try the fish. I don't do a lot of poultry, but maybe I'll try some of that just to test, to see, maybe without fat.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's worth a shot. I mean, you need the fat. Fat's good for you, so do.
Oh yeah,
get
and
fat.
I want the fat.
Yeah,
I like fat. I want the fat, and I need it to maintain weight as well.
Yeah, and so just experimenting around and see what helps or hurts is always good. If you're getting a direct response, sometimes you eat and you just get a reaction. Well, then that's, sort of suggests that that's coming from something you ate. If it's just sort of happening and it may not be perfectly aligned with when you're eating, maybe think about, is there anything else in your environment that's contributing to this as well? And even then, you can have things in your environment that are
it could be delayed.
contributing.
It could be a delayed reaction to food as well.
Yeah. And or delayed reaction to something else in your environment, and so
that's true.
Sort of time it, and journals are really, most people think like, well, I can just remember these things, but if you sort of keep a journal of things, you actually see that different patterns end up showing up that you may not have noticed, because everyone's sort of a victim of confirmation bias. We sort of look at this and it's like, oh, it happened at this time, that confirms that this is what I thought, but you actually realize that it's happening at other times too, maybe, and you're just not noticing it as much. So if you have a journal and say, okay, this time of day, this is what I was doing, this is what happened, and you and then you'll be able to sort of get patterns. And it could be, it's just like clockwork, like 15 minutes after you eat, you get this rash. It's like, okay, well, there's something in your food. And then you have like, okay, when I ate fish, I got this reaction. When I had, turkey, I did not get this reaction. And, you can go from there. But, I think having a journal and just keeping track of things methodically like that will help.
Yeah, I do keep a food log all the time, but I've
Yeah.
never found that it's been helpful in terms of being able to see patterns.
So you've been keeping track of the rashes as
yeah.
well? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
what do you notice? Do you notice that it's just like clockwork after you eat every time?
No,
Okay.
like I said, the symptoms come and go.
Right. Okay. Well, so that could very well be something independent of what you're eating as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's something you should think about, because, when
Okay.
you're exposed to something, you get a histamine response is generally quite quick. Your body hits it and just goes, no, not happy with this. And you blast out a bunch of histamine. And so, if you're reacting to your food, you should get a reaction every time you eat food, but if you're just getting a reaction seemingly, independently of that, then it's like more likely to be something else in your environment. Yeah. So,
Okay.
you can go back to
I'll
eating
keep
fat,
yeah.
see how you go, and it could be that
Okay.
it doesn't really change things, or, it could. So, but, if you're having sort of independent of eating, it's likely something in your environment. So you can think about, what else is in your house and or in your surroundings that you're being exposed to, and you can sort of keep track of it that way. Maybe you can, it's just like, oh, okay, every 20 minutes after I go outside, this happens or something like that. You can sort of try to see it that way and as well. But yeah, when we do a radical change in our diet like this, quite often we think that, we sort of pin a lot of things to the change in our diet. We think, oh, okay, this is what this made me do this. And it's just like, well, maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but there are other factors at play as well. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you. I will.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Leslie, did you want to have a question or a comment or anything? Maybe not. Okay. And anybody else had any questions? Or Simon, do we have some questions that got sent in?
We do have one question. Sorry, I'm just having a terrible day today. A lot of noise in the background. There is one from an anonymous, and she has. Let me just. I'll just reveal that it's a she. She has a. She's concerned about a carotid artery, Anthony, and she is 67 now, but when she was 45, her doctor heard a brew when he was listening to her right carotid artery. Couldn't find a blockage, but found that she has a curve in one of her arteries, and thinks that she's susceptible to blood clots because she's got thin arteries, I believe. So now takes but is concerned about how much fat she should be eating because of this issue with the brew and the carotid arteries in the past. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, should not be concerned at all. Fat, cholesterol don't contribute to atherosclerosis. I mean, it's just the simple fact that you have higher LDL cholesterol, whatever it does. And it's actually, in a lot of studies showing that there's no association between higher LDL cholesterol or higher saturated fat intake and heart disease or strokes. And in fact, finding inverse correlations. So finding that as protective. And so, cholesterol again was never the problem in the first place. So I wouldn't worry about that. It's
the LDL is 183. Is that high-ish?
Sorry, say that again.
The LDL is 183.
It depends on the units, but like either way, I don't care. I mean, it's not something that we built these these reference ranges based on a false premise. And so they're meaningless. They are literally meaningless, you know, and so I don't attribute any meaning to them. So whatever the LDL cholesterol is, doesn't really matter. What matters is, are you drinking alcohol? Are you smoking cigarettes? Are you eating sugar? Are you eating carbohydrates? Those are the things that are going to contribute to heart disease. You know, the cholesterol is going to be damaged by oxidative stress, like from seed oils, like from high blood sugar, from eating carbohydrates, like from sugar, and fructose in particular is worse. You know, so it's not the cholesterol doing it. The cholesterol is an innocent bystander that's being used in a heist. It's like a hostage in a bank robbery, you know, and it's just like, God, that goddamn hostage. If only we didn't have hostages, we would not have bank robberies, you know? And, you know, it's like, so you're blaming the wrong person here. So, you know, they're just getting caught up in the mix. But yeah, the level of your cholesterol has no indication on, you know, on heart disease, because it comes from damaged cholesterol. So just having more cholesterol doesn't mean you're going to have that's not going to damage your cholesterol just by having more of it. It's those other things that cause harm. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it from that standpoint. You know, you have a brewery, you have, you know, you can have anatomical variants and things like that can predispose you for clots and all that sort of stuff. That certainly has nothing to do with cholesterol, though, you know. So, but that doesn't mean you can't get clots and things like that. I don't know exactly what, you know, condition they have, but, you know, they're saying something about getting clots, and so, but the cholesterol is not going to affect that, no.
I think it's she's in that kind of that state of in between where you deep down, you know that cholesterol is not causing any heart issues and that it's good for you. But at the same time, when she went and visited her doctor was like, oh, you should back off the liquid fats, stop adding butter to things, you know, go easy on the fat consumption. So I suppose it just sounds like it's one of those things where it's like, just got this nag in the back of her mind, like, you know, like could it be cholesterol?
No.
Which, you know, these things do take a while to overcome. Like, you know, I remember you saying it was hard to get used to not cutting fat off the steak initially. And so we all kind of, you know, that's the good thing about being in the community, that everybody sort of supports each other and makes it normal to eat healthy fat and to just eat meat, salt, and water.
Yeah. I don't know why the doctor would say that, though. That's very funny. Oh, avoid liquid fat. Why? But why? Based on what? You know? So I don't know. I don't know where that was coming from. Obviously, you know, people having, you know, misgivings and being, you know, because look, I mean, I've looked into this thoroughly, and you know, and I come from a you know, medical background where I read a lot of these things all the time, and so, you know, I you know, I'm happy to do that, and I'm very convinced of this. But, you know, other people are literally just going on faith, and so that's obviously very can be very nerve wracking. We're like, oh, you know, are we sure? And so that's totally fine. You know, I wasn't. You know, I was just more confused and perplexed by what the doctor said, because I thought it was a very strange statement. But yeah, no, it's totally normal to be, you know, a bit concerned about this, because, you know, we've been told this for 50 years, and so, you know, now all of a sudden it's just like, nope, just do the exact opposite. And like, okay, you know, and then you want to go into it, but like it's yeah, it can be certainly nerve wracking for everyone. Yeah, no, that's totally understandable. But yeah, no, it's totally hasn't, no, you know, but that, no, that's not gonna certainly not gonna cause blood clots, and it's not gonna cause atherosclerosis or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think butter's fantastic. I know a lot of the crew, like, you know, I just have butter on the kitchen bench and just grab a knob all the time.
Yeah.
And it tastes great. It kind of like, it can get you between meals. That little bit of extra fat. Yeah,
I like butter. You know, it tastes awesome. You know, so yeah, I have no problem with butter. Yeah, we had. Do we have other questions as well?
Maybe just Tom, can you give us an update on the X3 challenge? How's it going?
Well, Simon, do you have your X3 yet?
You wouldn't believe it. Mine has been at Botany Bay docking station for 10 days. So every day I wake up in the morning and I check my FedEx tracking link, and I just add a day to my tally. So I was in Botany Bay during the week as well. So I was probably like, 100 meters from it, but I can't get it.
Can you
And
not
my
pick it
X3
up? Will I let you pick it up? Bastards.
I don't think so. It's like in one of those big, holding warehouses. It's just delayed. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll sit on hold with FedEx for an hour this afternoon and try and speak to someone.
Good luck. Yeah, my X3 challenge is going great. I mean, I've pretty much committed to it. I do 6 days a week. I do take a day off. I mean, I've had the X3 for about 3 years now, and I've gone in spurts where I do it for 6-8 months and then I lose track. But this past month, I've really made a lot of gains. Bands are going up, reps are going up. I feel like my weight's going up a little bit, but I'm leaning out. So I think that's good.
It is, yeah. And you notice, you notice you're putting on muscle and
yeah, I feel like it's a weird, I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like my arms are tighter now.
Yeah.
Like around my biceps, my chest I feel like when I walk, my chest is in front of me, not behind me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like where it's supposed to be.
Yeah. No, it's good. And and it's a nice testament that hard work pays off and you put in the work.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
And especially on a carnivore diet, you're going to get way more results. You're going to be able to work harder, and the hard work is going to pay more as well. So it's good.
20 minutes a day.
That's it. Yeah, it's nothing. And I'm doing these stupid videos, but so that's like more of a pain in the ass, because now I'm just like, oh, I just want to do my quick workout. I'm like, oh, I gotta set that stupid ass camera. So that's hard for me, and it's still not that big of a deal,
Yeah, I have a good carnivore story for you guys.
Yeah.
So I play golf pretty much one day a week with a bunch of guys, and typically never have dinner with them afterwards because what they serve, I just won't eat. So, but last week said I'll go in and have dinner with you. With the place we played, they had prime rib on the menu. It's like, oh, perfect. I'll have a piece of prime rib. And these guys are all having bread and pastas and all the crap food. And then it comes time, excuse me, comes time for dessert, and all these guys, this place is known for their Sundays. So they're all like, I got to have this Sunday, you got to have that Sunday, you got to. They came to order for me and said, well, what do you want for dessert? And I said, the only thing that interests me for dessert is I'll take another piece of prime rib. They all laughed and thought I was kidding. Yeah. And they said, well, if you could eat another piece of prime rib, we'll pay for it. So
silly.
I was like,
absolutely silly.
It's like that's a no-brainer. So
yeah.
I got 2-for-1 prime rib for dinner. I only paid for one and ate two.
Yeah. What a silly
and
thing.
It was easy.
Yeah. It's like, don't threaten me with a good time. Like, Jesus.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, even if I was not hungry, I was absolutely force feed myself. No problem. Yeah.
I was hungry, so it was easy.
Free steak. Yeah. Well, and that's it too. I've rarely filled up at a restaurant, and so, anytime I go out to dinner, I will eat a steak first, like every time, because you're going out more for the experience. You're going out for the experience. You're not going out because you're actually hungry. If you're hungry, you just stay home and eat. You go out because it's like a social experience, and that's unfortunately what it is now. Food used to be about eating, and now it's just about it's like catching up with your friends and being social. You go to breakfast, brunch, lunch, dinner, coffee, drinks, all these sorts of things. Like, people just cannot spend time socially without putting something in their face. Like, why? Why can't you just do things and talk? And but that's just what we've grown into. Is that we didn't used to be like that, and but yeah, so it's it's I think it's just a waste of money to going out to eat. I don't know. I was like, my dad had that thought when we were kids. He hated going out to eat because my mom was a great cook, first of all. So we had better meals at home anyway. But we could get sort of different things, because my mom would try to cook healthy, low fat. There's always be meat there, but certainly wasn't any sugary garbage. And so, we go out to eat and there would just be different things. And it was just sort of an exciting little treat. My dad hated it. He was just like, it's just a waste of money. It's just like, it's not as good. You don't get as much. And it's crazy expensive. And you got 5 kids too, so you're paying for like 7 meals and like the kids only eat half of it anyway. So it's like, screw that. And, and as a kid, I sort of resented that. I'm like, oh, this is bullshit. Like, we want to go out. Now I'm just like, I'm totally of that mindset. I'm like, screw that. Restaurants are rip-offs, and I cook better anyway. I totally get that mindset now. So yeah, well done getting the second steak.
Read the Tom. How good.
Yeah, that's good. Mary, you had your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I have a question about the X3.
Mhm.
I do resistance bands, but not an X3.
Mhm.
I'm a pretty petite person, 5'2", 98 pounds. Is it X3? Is that too much for a small person?
Yeah, no, you're not allowed. Absolutely not. No. Yeah, no, it's fine. They have resistance bands that are pretty light as well. And so if you use resistance bands, you probably do a lot of the similar things. The X3 bar is, it's just a bit of exercise. So it has the bands. It has a lot of heavy bands too. If you're using lighter bands, then that's there's probably more available. But outside of the X3 system. But having that bar and having something to link onto, and we can push and pull and do all that stuff with that bar, that's very helpful. And then there's like a foot plate where you sort of tie underneath it, and then you pull up with that, do shoulder presses and biceps and squats and deadlifts and shrugs or whatever you want. And so those are helpful. You could just step on them, you'll damage the band. Eventually they'll break. And you could do that without the bar as well, but they're just little conveniences, and they do make things a bit more convenient. So, and you could probably even use the X3 bar with the bands that you had as well. And so, if the lighter ones are too much, then you can use other ones. Tom, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, Mary, my wife did the X3 band bar too for a little while. And she found that the bands that come with the system are a little bit heavier. So she did the bar, but then there's a company out there called Serious Steel, and they make bands that fit the X3 bar that are lighter weight bands. So it's probably what you would look at Serious Steel to get the bands for the bar that would fit your profile.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there you go. So yeah. So I mean, and there are other band systems as well that you might have different sort of. It's hard to tell. Everything's online, and you're just seeing pictures of things, and so you don't really know. But yeah, the bar can just help make things a bit easier, and there are. If you're really just going after, you just want like a bar and you have the other bands, or you're going to get those other lighter bands from Serious Steel, you may not even need to get like the whole X3 system, because it's it is expensive, it's in the grand scheme of things. If you're replacing gym memberships with that, then it actually becomes, profitable, because you're not spending money on gym memberships perpetually. But you're going to be paying for a lot of bands that you're not going to use, and there are other options. You can look on Amazon. Sometimes they'll have different band systems that are less expensive. They're probably cheaper as material as well, and not as well built. Like, these are very well built. I was very very happy with that, with the quality of the craftsmanship. But I have no idea what the other ones are like. The XP bar sort of swivels as well. So it latches on and it'll have the bar will swivel. So as you're going, it stays oriented properly. I don't know if the cheaper models do that. It could be that they just hook on and that's it. And it's just a bit more of a pain in the ass. But you might be able to find that in the description somewhere. But, there are others on Amazon that would be cheaper because they're not name brands. And so if you just want the bar out of that, maybe you can just get one of those cheaper ones just to get the bar and use with the different bands, because the other bands that it comes with, the lightest of them would probably be fine for you, but maybe not for every exercise. And so maybe you would need slightly different ones for them as well. So just
Okay.
see how you go.
Thank you. Because I've been curious about it. I mean, I've seen different things on it, and I was just curious if it would be overkill for me.
I think the bigger bands, yes, especially for certain exercises, but the lightest of the bands, you will probably use that for different things. I mean, like squats and things like that. You're using your legs are going to be stronger. And so you may be just fine with that one, and maybe just fine for other things as well. It may not even be enough. Who knows? You may need a bit heavier band, but it does get, for depending on what you're doing, some of it you do want a bit lighter weights, and so because think about for like military. So obviously the more you stretch these things out, the more resistance there is, right? And so if you're doing something just sort of close to the chest or just sort of close to the ground, it's not going to be as much resistance. But if you're going up above your head and doing shoulder press, you're stretching that thing out as far as any other exercise, and so that's just going to have more resistance. And so you're not going to be using the same resistance for that as you would for bicep curls or something like that, because bicep curls are here and the shoulder press is up here, and so you're going to increase the resistance a lot on that one as well. So you might need some
Thank you
with that. No worries. I think there are really, actually I have it right here, these things as well. These come with it, and these are super light, and these sort of attach onto something, I'm sure. And then you have, even more, lighter sort of things. I've never used those, so I have no idea. But they came in the box, so presumably they're for those lighter sort of exercises as well. But cool. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments or anything like that? No. Simon, are we out of people didn't really submit too many questions this time?
No, I think we wrapped there. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Really good.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Hopefully that was, obviously we had to adjust the time a bit this week just because I was on night, so I apologize for that. Probably could have ended up doing it in retrospect, but you never know. You never know when like an emergency is going to come in or something's going to happen. So it's generally best to avoid things when I'm on call, because things can happen at a drop of a hat, and so all of a sudden you have this plan and then all of a sudden you have to just cancel it all. So that wouldn't have been good. Next week should be, my schedule is sort of back more to normal, so I should be okay with that. So as long as Simon, are you good for the normal time next week, Friday?
Yeah, for sure.
So it should be fine. So that'll be back to our normal Friday time in Australia, 6 a.m. Perth, 8 a.m. Eastern states. And so that'll be sort of afternoon, early evening in the US. Tom? Yeah.
Question. So next week is beginning of September. So that starts another month.
And you're signed up, Tom, so you'll be there.
Right. I did sign up, but I don't know if you want to shoot a note out to everyone saying, if they want to continue on, they should sign up.
Yeah, we definitely will this weekend. I think Anthony and I. Anthony's been flat out doing nights, so I've been flat out. So we'll catch up, and then we'll send some messages out letting everybody know that it's time to start to sign up, because I think Thursday is the 1st of September.
Right. Yeah. So that'd be the second would be on. Okay. So what, how many Friday sessions or weekly sessions have you had? Was it 4 this time?
4.
4. It was 4.
There'll be 4 again, I think.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Just make sure it wasn't like, that, yeah, we got at least 4. So otherwise we should add in another session or something like that. But yeah. Okay. All right. Well, great month. Great job, everyone. It's been great to see everyone's updates and how they've been doing and how everyone's been progressing. Hopefully everyone can just sort of roll this in to next month. It's just like you guys did this for 30 days and you all did great. And hopefully you felt the benefits of that and now keep going. Like what we say in the clinic here, we get people when we get them to commit to a carnivore diet, say, okay, we're going to do 100% carnivore for 100 days, and that sort of just sets that tone. And then, after the 100 day, and then what about after the 100 days? And you do 100 more, and so this is a lifestyle change. Okay. So hopefully that's set up the base for everyone to then continue on and get more out of this and just continue this as a way of life, because that's where you really get the benefits of it. I mean, this is going to give you optimal health for the rest of your life. You can't get optimal health by just doing this for a month, unfortunately. It'll help. It's better than nothing. But, if you really want to be the healthiest that you can and live the best life that you can, and happiest life that you can, like, I don't think there's really any other way to do it than to make your body and your mind as healthy as possible and run on the most optimal sort of nutrition and eliminating out all the poisons. So, keep it up. Everyone's doing a great job. I'm really proud of all of you. I'm really happy to see everyone in the chats, doing so well and supporting each other and updating each other with how great they're going. So just keep it up. If everyone who joins us for the next round, that'll be great to have you along. And everyone else, good luck with everything. And hopefully you can continue this on and stay strong and hold these sort of principles, in your mind all the time and just make it a way of life. And you'll just keep doing better and better. I'm really excited for all of you.
Absolutely. And I might just quickly jump in. For everybody who participates next month, we've got a new members portal that Anthony and I have been working on. So it will be a slightly better experience whereby each day you unlock a new module. It'll be a learning module that has video content or written content or both. And obviously there's no ads or anything. You can just get straight into the learning. So it's going to be a more immersive environment. And you're still going to get the weekly calls with Anthony and myself. We're still going to have a Telegram group. We're still going to have a Facebook group, but you're also going to get this portal. So, it's going to be slightly better. We're going to keep improving it every single time.
That's the idea. And any suggestions and tips that you guys have for, better experience and what might help us, help you guys and help people, always open to hearing those. It's definitely good to know. Yeah. Nicole, I almost said Leah.
Yeah, no, thank you. One thing that I guess I learned from Dr. Baker's Rivero and one of his coaches, Raymond Nazon, was about the priming and the getting to that Thanksgiving full. And I know on the Telegram, I got a lot of responses that actually helped, quit coffee, quit other things. And I know for me, that made the cravings go away. So I think talking about that more to help get people started to it's kind of hard to tell yourself, okay, I've got to eat every meal till I'm so full I could burst, because they're so used to diets saying limit what you eat. But I think that was a game changer for me. I honestly, I didn't believe I could do just meat, salt, and water. There was no way until I heard about that little tip and trick. And then it was like 7 days in, I couldn't think about food because I was just so full.
Yeah.
And then it just like, and then I like had to cut it down to like 2 meals a day. And but it, like for getting rid of cravings, like that was a godsend. Like I don't know if I could have done it without that. That little trick.
Yeah, well,
So-
that's what Baker says is they say, well, how much should I eat? And he says, eat until the cravings go away. Eat as much as you need until you don't get cravings. Funny enough, I spoke to Raymond today.
Did you?
Yeah, I was on Bella Steak and Butter Gang. I think I was like a guest guest Q&A sort of thing. And he was on there, and he's one of the coaches on there, and he asked that question. What do I think about priming? And I think it's a good. I think it's good. I think it's a good idea. As I said a lot of many times, a lot of people will tend to undereat because your hunger signals change so dramatically. You never feel hungry in the traditional sense, and so it's very easy to not eat enough. And that's when you're going to run into the cravings because your brain's going to start asking for food and energy, but it's asking for it in different ways, and you're just not hearing the signals. And then all of a sudden you're going to get cravings like, oh, I want that donut or whatever, and that's just your brain saying, get some goddamn calories in here. And so I think priming is sort of an elegant solution for that, where you're making sure that you get everything, and they'll probably force you to sort of start noticing what hunger actually really feels hungry. Like. Yeah. And I always go by taste. Obviously, when things taste good, that means you're hungry. When they don't taste good, that means they're your body doesn't need those nutrients anymore. And so I think that it's not something I've done, so I can't speak from personal experience, but just the concept of it seems like a good idea, and can make sure. I mean, at the very minimum, it's making sure people are getting enough. It's very easy to not get enough. When I started this 22 years ago, I had no idea it was going to change my hunger signal so much, and so I was never hungry. Right. There were multiple days, like 4 days in a row, where I wouldn't eat because I just wouldn't even remember to. Wow. And I was up early, straight into classes at University of Washington, and the second I finished classes, I was straight down into UW rugby practice. The second I finished there, I was straight over to the Seattle men's practice, the Seattle Saracens practice, and then it was to the gym, and then it was home. I'd study for an hour or something like that, and I'd go to sleep. And then, like, quite often I would not eat that whole day. I would never eat breakfast. I would never eat during the day. And then I get home and I just be all over the place. My mom was just like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and then I've got to go to sleep. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I just don't have time to cook. I'm hungry, so I'll just pound down like a gallon of water or something like that, so it doesn't feel like I'm hungry. And then I go to sleep. And then it was just and then sometimes I'd finish early and I get home and it wouldn't be that late, and be like, oh, I have time to cook today, and I should eat because I didn't eat yesterday and I didn't eat the day before. Did I eat the day before that? And it was just like, okay, I need to eat something. And so, and I got to a point where my body just ran out of reserves, and, I was not able to manage the amount of working out that I did. And I was actually getting weaker. And normally I was feeling stronger, faster, and better, fitter every single time I worked out. I could feel it happening and changing. And it was amazing. It was amazing. I loved it. And then all of a sudden it was just every time I went, it dropped me a little. I felt a bit worse and a bit worse and a bit worse. And this is because I had run out of stores. My body was breaking down. And so I hit a wall there. And I remember thinking, I was just like, oh, I really don't think I'm eating enough. I really don't think that I'm getting enough food. I was like, but I'm just not hungry. I'm never hungry. And so you have to relearn that, you have to relearn your hunger signals. And so I think that's an elegant way of just at least making sure that you're getting enough. And then you can recognize what that is. And then you're like, oh yeah, I'm just not hungry. I'm not hungry. But actually, it does taste good up into this. So I do know how much my body normally wants. And so, yeah. I could totally see that helping with cravings as well, because you're just not going to be hungry. You're just not going to want to eat.
Yeah. So stop. Yeah, and I know Raymond does like he talks a lot about the priming and like feasting to get ready for fasting, which I haven't attempted yet because I don't know, I get hungry and I just devour the meat, right? Like, so I'm just kind of going by, you know, how hungry I am and not hungry. So it hasn't happened yet, but maybe after a while, we'll see. But I thought like, wow, that everybody knows what that Thanksgiving fool feels like. And so like the words and like the technique of priming, that was so helpful for getting me on, you know, strict carnivore and getting rid of those cravings, you know, getting rid of the caffeine, getting rid of like everything. So
Awesome.
that was one tip and trick that
it's a really good suggestion.
Yeah, no, it's good.
So we'll make sure that we include that for everyone.
And certainly as you know, as a suggestion for getting people to, you know, at least get enough, you know, especially if they're just starting out, you know,
having an easier time.
Yeah, and just you should get used to that. I mean, I try to tell people like, you know, eat until things don't taste good anymore, and so you know you'll sort of get to that same thing anyway. But yeah, that does give the, you know, a bit more structure in your mind, like, oh, okay, this is what I'm going for, and you know, so yeah, it can be a good, you know, good you know, tool in the box. Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
Thank you.
Lovely. Well, thank you for that. All right. Okay. Well, again, yeah, thank you everyone. And for people watching the recording of this, thank you all. It's been a great month. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. I know Simon and I did. I know we've all enjoyed the conversations and helping people along and watching everyone get better and get healthier. So that's been great. And yeah, and you know, keep around. We'll be around in other ways as well. You can always watch our podcasts and our videos. Those are always going to be available. And everyone else who joins us next month, we'll see you next week. Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks,
No problem.
Bye. Thank you.
Guys. All right, guys.